My name is Dawn Dunzu, and I'm the founder of DG Recruit. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 common mistakes that beginner agency recruiters make. Based on my personal experience as a global top billing headhunter at a large international recruitment firm, as well as being a rec-to-rec, a recruiter for agency recruiters, here are the most common 5 mistakes that I've seen beginner agency recruiters do that I want you to be careful of, no matter if you are 1 week into the business or 10 years into the business. So let's break it down. The first mistake that a lot of junior agency recruiters make is that they don't pipeline. What I mean by this is oftentimes they will get a role and they will be so excited that they landed a new client, that they have a new bunch of roles to do, that they're not focusing on their KPIs anymore. They just want to spend all of their time servicing that rec. And that rec drives up their anxiety. That rec gets all of their attention and time and focus. What this does, especially if you're contingent, it takes away time from you building your pipeline of other recs, of gaining other businesses to essentially spread out your risk. When you're focusing all of your efforts on one rec, God forbid that rec does not pan out the way you would like it to. That is a lot of time that you are not going to get back, which is why you have to get into the habit of following your KPIs on a almost religious level of dedication. You need to be so focused on hitting those KPIs so you're never blindsided when the recs that you do have fail to close. At the very least, you will have built your pipeline so that you don't fall too far behind. Number 2, another common mistake that beginner agency recruiters make is that they sound weak on the phone. They're asking for permission. A lot of times it will sound like, do you have a minute to talk? Are you free? Can I have a moment of your time? This is all very junior salespeople stuff. Experienced salespeople don't sound like that. They're more take charge. That's the tone that they take. So some of this is purely tactical. They don't know how to use downspeak. They're not really asking open questions, just like the examples I just gave you previously. They're not asking questions like, why do you need a new job? Why are you looking to backfill? Just not digging deep enough, essentially, because they are coming from a deep place of fear and shame. They don't think they're good enough. They don't believe that they're top, so they don't feel empowered and entitled to ask a lot of the questions that normally experienced agency recruiters would ask. Because if it's a red flag, I'm going to touch upon it. I want to know, why did you get laid off? I want to know the real reason, not just the HR rosy picture that you're trying to use to essentially lie to me, right? That's the difference between experienced recruiters and junior recruiters, is that the junior recruiters get lied to often and they don't know how to catch those lies. So the way to do it is just to react really from a visceral gut read situation. If something doesn't seem right, you gotta lean into the uncomfortableness of asking those difficult questions. Well, why were you laid off? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. Tell me more. So this is why you have to really spend time to explain to your candidates and clients, maybe preface why you're asking certain tough questions to soften the blow a little bit and get those questions out. Because if you don't, something nasty is going to wait for you around the corner. And I'd rather not have you waste you or your clients or your candidates' time. Ideally, you find out the truth as early as possible. And you do that by asking tough questions, being tough on the phone, and having more guts to take a bigger role in the conversation instead of it being a top-down parent, child, teacher, student interaction, because it's not that. You should actually be almost peer level with your customers. Number 3, this is a mistake that isn't really the fault of the beginner agency recruiter. A lot of this depends on which company you work at. A lot of recruitment firms, they don't let you do 2 very important things. One is they don't let you talk to clients. That's a humongous career setback. I started my career at a company that, albeit didn't have any clients, so they needed us to build the clientele. Unbeknownst to me, this is a really critical skill set to understand how to talk to clients, how to cold call them, pitch them profiles, have client conversations, have client meetings, and build a business from ground up. So number 1 is so many companies don't allow their staff to talk to employers, saying that, well, there's a senior salesperson that does all of that. That's a humongous missed opportunity. Number two, a big issue here is that the firm you work for doesn't allow you to specialize. This is a humongous tactical error, especially for direct hire recruiters. It's less of an issue for contract recruiters because at least when you're recruiting for temp positions, sometimes those positions can range, and those are much more fast-paced markets anyways, more transactional, but especially for passive candidate markets where the candidate is so hard to find, you need that level of depth, that level of focus in a niche market. And this is called vertical market specialism. So recruiters with a vertical market specialism is a vertical market specialist. That means you're recruiting from bottom to top of the same vertical. So for instance, the medical writer, the junior person I'm going to recruit for. I'll also recruit for the director of medical writing, right? That is a very good example of a full-on niche focus. What this allows you to do, it helps you become more candidate focused versus client dependent. Because just because a client is good this year doesn't mean they're going to be a forever client. Doesn't mean they're going to be a great hiring entity next year. It just all kind of depends. So you want to spread your risk out and be more candidate centric, candidate niche focused versus client focused, which could lead to too many eggs in one basket, leading to nasty surprises the next year when that valve of hiring shuts off. That's always a risk that you must consider, which is why so many direct hire full desk recruiters only operate on a specific niche. They don't try to be a jack of all trades because, as you know, they become master of none, which means they don't have a competitive edge in that particular talent market. Number four, this common mistake that beginner agency recruiters make is that they fail to make an impression. They become one of many recruiters that has prospected the same client or the same candidate. It starts off from the very beginning of the phone call where there is no warmth to the phone call. It's very transactional. Hello, I'm calling about XYZ job. I want to see if you're open to a new position. It's very hard to make a personal relationship with someone when you sound bored at your job, uninspired, perhaps even scared of making phone calls. This is why I mentioned earlier how important it is to curate a really good phone voice, because recruitment is all about connection and you want to bring that warmth of tone, that excitement. I'm so excited I got you on the phone. I am always trying to talk to excellent medical writers like yourself, and that's why I'm just so happy you picked up the phone today. I guarantee you that's going to sound a lot different than the previous example I gave you. So you need to find a way to make an impression. This is usually done through solid open questioning, managing your tone, managing the cleverness of your open questions, and driving good conversations, good small talk, good personal conversation, as well as business relevant conversation from the prospect that you're dealing with. So you're touching upon their family life, their goals, their dreams, their career path, their happiness, their hobbies, their interests, their fears, as well as what's going on at work. You see, you want to be a well-rounded conversationalist in order to drive more relationship building. And this is where business is not just business, it's very personal in our line of work. Number five, this last mistake really hinges upon process. A lot of beginner agency recruiters don't yet have a solid process for everything. And this is to be expected because you're new to the business. There's certain things that you're trying to figure out, which is why it's so important every single day to find out where could I have done better? What could I have done to catch some of the mistakes I made earlier? Could I talk about counter offers earlier in the process? Could I dig a little more deep into why they're leaving their firm or why they're open to looking? Because a lot of these things you'll realize, oops, I made that mistake. I'm not going to make it again. And that's where process helps you. You really do have to have a process for everything, down to simple things like, hey, I'm going to send you an email and then I'm going to text you to make sure you received my email. Countless people have missed out on emails because the emails go into the spam folder. So I always make it part of my process to tell the candidate, hey, I'm going to send you an email, and if it lands in spam, please check for it. And I'll notate that in text. Something as simple as that is going to catch some of these errors. The last thing you want to do is have the candidate call you 3 weeks later and say, hey, you never sent me an email. Turns out it was in the spam folder. Little things like that could kill your deals if they accumulate as unforced errors, essentially. So it's really important for you to have a process really for everything. As a bonus tip, if you've listened to the whole video, I'm glad to hear it. You can always pop onto my podcast, DG Recruit Podcast, for free training, or sign up to my website, dondonzoo.com. Every single month, I have a free webinar on coaching that you can tune into live. I always do my webinars live. And if you are a student of my class, my course, Ultimate MPC course, which is Most Placeable Candidate Sales course, then you will be able to access all of the recordings of all of my webinars. And I hope that that's going to help you become a better salesperson, because I do talk about sales techniques a lot in the course. If you want to book me for one-on-one coaching, I absolutely provide that, rates upon request. So make sure to reach out to me on dondonzoo.com. As a bonus, I want to leave you with one more tying everything we talked about in this video together, which is, unfortunately, a lot of beginner agency recruiters just don't work hard enough. And I know that sounds rude to say, but that's the truth, because so many people are clocking in and clocking out. They're not even hitting their KPIs, let alone exceeding them. I'll tell you, when I became global top rookie and became a global top biller, billed over 1.5 million in 3 years off of my own accounts, at that time, I was working so hard in my first few months of the job. And I call this the 7777 rule. You may have seen hashtags on the 7777 rule, which essentially consists of 4 things. You want to work 7 to 7, which is a 12-hour increment, could be 8 to 8, 9 to 9, whatever have you, 7 days a week, 7 times out of the year. You're really going to put your foot on the gas pedal. You're going to spend unbroken time focused on your business. So those weekends, you're catching up on adding more managers, on creating your MPCs, on creating the events that you want to set up for your network, on perhaps making client and candidate phone calls, more so candidate phone calls. The thing is, when you just are starting in this career, that momentum is so important, because if you don't see deals trickling in month 6, month 7, month 8, it's too easy to get hung up on the fear, the failure. And a lot of times it's because people didn't put in that initial momentum to really kickstart their career at the very outset, which is why in the beginning of my career, I worked 7-7-7-7. I was working on weekends. My managers would shout me out. I didn't do it to please them. I did it for myself, because we're in a commission-driven job. If I don't work hard, I'm not going to see the results I want. I don't want to spend precious time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday going through Career Builder when I could do it on the weekend. I could go through all of the candidates on the weekend, source who I want to talk to, and leave voicemails on Saturday and Sunday, and make time to meet these candidates. These are things that my competition is unwilling to do. I would set up so much time to meet my candidates and clients on the weekdays as well as the weekends, because why the hell not? I'm doing this for myself. I'm building out my network for me, right? So every extra hour I work is only going to benefit me. And politically, it helps massively to stand out from the crowd, especially if you work at a mid to large size agency. You want to be that eager beaver. You want to be the early bird that gets the worm. And when you show your managers that your aptitude is there, that your grind is there, they're going to support you emotionally, mentally, and divert more resources to help you, because you've proven to them that you know how to work hard and that you're willing to go the extra mile. That in and of itself is one of the most valuable things that I did early in my career to set myself apart from my peers, because I wanted the attention. I wanted every focus that my manager could have to help me become global top rookie. And I did achieve that. So that's why it's so important to go over all of these mistakes. Make sure that you are not committing any unforced errors, because these are all things in your control.